Pennsylvania. He resides over in the central part of the state at State College, which, if you guys know, is the home of Penn State University. Jason has multifaceted interests and talents. He's an IT professional, an entrepreneur, a Rotarian, and currently he is an on-air personality on weekdays on a show called The Morning Getaway, which is the #1 rated show in their market. He has spoken at so many events at the district and the zone and the international levels of Rotary over the many years that he's been a Rotarian. For those of you who don't know him, his many passions are making membership memorable by creatively creating meaningful change and having lots of fun along the way. Jason is here tonight to help us all learn how to make membership memorable in our clubs, or as he likes to put it, make M&Ms. Please join me in welcoming Jason Browne.
Thank you so very, very, very much, Mark, for that wonderful introduction. You're very professional with the mic on the side. I like it. I like it. I feel like you're going to navigate the planes out of the airfield today. Everybody, if you thought you were just going to sit there this evening and stare at a screen without having to do anything, you've come to the wrong place. All right, that chat box window, I want to make sure that your fingers are working indeed and that we're going to have some engagement here. So before we get started, I'll give you a softball question. M&Ms, that's what we're going to be talking about today. What is your favorite color of M&Ms? Go ahead and put it in chat. I want to see you put the color in chat. Mark says blue. Okay, Mark. Red, green, red, yellow, red. Okay, it looks like red. No, Kathy, you can't choose them all. You have to choose a single one, Kathy. Which one's your favorite? It looks like green came from the back. Oh, green might be winning at this point. Green and white. Okay, all right. So far, so good. Pretty good response. All right. Chocolate. The best color there is, just the chocolate ones. Okay, now here's a little bit of a tougher question. Each of you represent a district. Go ahead and put your district number in chat, and let's see which district is best represented in chat tonight. Go ahead. Okay, we have 6310, 6290. Okay, whoa, 6290 is coming out of the woodwork here. 6400, Penny, it looks like you're by yourself right now. It's okay. It's all right. You still have some friends here. 6290, okay, looks like there's a solid, I can't tell. It's between 6290 and 6310. Those are the two that are neck and neck this evening. Okay, everybody. Well, my name is Jason Browne. Tonight, we're going to have a little bit of fun and we're going to have a little bit of a conversation. Throughout the entire time that I'm going to be talking, there's going to be a bunch of questions that appear up on the screen right here. And that is what we're going to be looking at while we're going through this. So here's the thing. Here's how this works. When you see the question up on chat, feel free to answer it. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep on going. Continue the conversation in chat. If you gave me an answer, tell me the reason why. Go ahead and debate in chat. Make this an engaging experience in chat and while I'm speaking as well. All right, everybody, let's hop into the first question. Let's hop into the first question real quick. Okay, here it is. What's more important, membership growth or membership retention? What's more important, membership growth? Nope, you got to choose one. If you had to choose one, which one is more important? I know that there have been a number of clubs lost due to COVID, and this is a really interesting question. Some folks have seen some growth with online retention. It looks like retention is winning about 90% so far. Okay, if you chose retention, if you chose number 2, why did you choose number 2? Why? Go ahead and put it in chat, and I'm going to keep on going, and we're going to get this thing started. Everybody, we're here to make membership memorable. We're here to make some M&Ms. And every time you see these M&Ms that are sitting right behind me, think of our membership. We are colorful. We're diverse. Some of us are sweet. Maybe not everybody, but some of us are. And so when you think about membership, think about making membership memorable. And think about these M&Ms throughout the entire thing. Let's look at a few comments. Need to keep our current Rotarians engaged. There we go. Grow leaders. Keep the comments coming. Keep the comments coming. Facilitators, please keep an eye on all the good comments that we have there. We'll come back to them in a little bit. So we have to make membership memorable. We have to make M&Ms. And membership is the most important aspect of Rotary. Without great membership, we do not have great clubs. Without great clubs, we cannot support the foundation or our service projects. And anything of quality within Rotary requires quality membership. So Membership must be the most important aspect of Rotary. We must make M&Ms. We must make membership memorable. iPad 64 says to maintain the quality experience for membership, people leave for two reasons: money or not feeling appreciated. That's a really good point, Cindy. Just as important is the fact that we need to change our approach to membership. President Holger has said that in recent years, we have failed in our efforts to grow Rotary, and we need to change our approach to membership. He asks us not to grow our clubs for growth's sake, and instead be intentional and purposeful with adding and sustaining membership. To continue to impact our communities locally and globally, we need a healthy membership. Thus, membership must be core to all of our efforts, to every Rotarian that is there. Facilitators, what were some of the comments from the first question that was up there that you want to highlight? Why was retention or membership more important?
Well, we have a couple of comments here. We ask new members to join if current members don't fully believe in why we do this. Let's see. People leave for two reasons: money or not feeling appreciated. And one more. Give me one more, Mark. Yep. Let's see. We need our current members to engage new Rotarians.
There we go. All right. Remember, this chat is going to be saved afterwards. So even if you don't catch it all, some of these comments will be saved for later digestion. So keep that in mind. But before we get started with the rest of the M&Ms, we need to bring attention to the fact that our M&Ms are now covered with something, and it's not your favorite color. It is covered with a whole bunch of COVID. You know what I mean? All of our M&Ms are covered with COVID. I'm not sure how many of you make candy, but making M&Ms with a bunch of COVID is difficult. There's a bunch of barriers that we have to making membership memorable, and each barrier we run into, COVID makes it that much more difficult. And as leaders of our community, we're going to run into three areas when it comes to making shit memorable and making M&Ms. There's three areas: lack of connection, information overload, and status quo, all with a good old coat of COVID. Let's think about each of these. Let's break this thing down real quick. Let's think about this internally and externally, okay? So when we think about lack of connection, the first barrier, let's think about internally. Internally to your club, you're not physically with the clubs each week. You're now on Zoom or some other technology. You log into a meeting, probably in your pajamas from your waist down. Most of you have your pajamas on right now. It's okay. Now no one's looking. You rarely meet for projects. And since COVID, there's likely been a reduction in the connection with your members. So know that that's the internal part. Externally to your club, when you think about lack of connection, your opportunity to deeply connect with others has changed. When I first started when I first logged in, everybody was like, man, I wish shaking hands with people. I miss giving people high fives, looking people eye in the eye all the time. Before you could be out in the community, be people of action and show the world just who you are. Before you could meet people for lunch and dinner, but now you can't. So you got to make membership memorable if you have a lack of connection. But it was already difficult, and now COVID just made it a lot harder. So the next question for you: which is more important, everybody? If you had the connections between your members in your club, or the connections between the public and your club, one or two, which is more important to you? Connections between the members of your club, or between the public and your club? Members of your club, members. Connie says members. Cindy says members. Sue says members. Russ is the public in your club. Between the public, we have a few folks that are not. It's not. No, Shelly, Kate, you gotta choose one. It's a would you rather question. If you had, I like Valerie's answer though. You need to have one in order to meet number two. Solid answer. Everybody, keep your answers coming, and as soon as you're done, tell us the reason why you chose the answers that you did. The second barrier: information overload. Let's think about this internally and externally again. Internally to your club, there's only so many meetings that you can go to, so many emails that you can read. If you just count the areas of focus and strategic objectives, which is a lot of syllables, there's 10 different topics when it comes to Rotary. How are you going to digest all of this when you're inside of your club and stay passionate about the things that we do? External to your club, let's say you have a new potential member. How the heck do you convey the message of Rotary to somebody who knows little about it virtually? I mean, sure, you can point them to your Rotary.org site or maybe to your Facebook page. But when you only have like 3 pictures and they're all of like your Zoom screen over the past 6 months, does that really convey what you do? There's just too much information, and how do you convey it effectively? It was already hard to make membership memorable with information overload, and COVID just made it a lot harder. So the next question for everybody is, if you had 10, well, before we get to this question, Mark, is there any comments that we see so far that we want to talk about for that first question, that last question?
Well, let's see. Let's run through a couple of these. Let's see. Yep, make the connection to the public. Our current membership knows our vision. We need to convey it to other people on the outside of our Rotary. So important for the current membership to get it, and then for the club to inform the public. Let's see, if you're not in touch with the public, how can you attract quality members? So if you're totally insular, how do you connect with the public and bring new people in?
Very nice.
Yes, yep. Internal connections make the club stronger, so we need to stay well connected with each other. And you can't serve the public if your members are disconnected. That's
true. That's very true. All wonderful comments. The last thing that we were just talking about is information overload. So my question to you is, if you had 10 seconds to share one thing about Rotary with somebody, what would it be? Would it be fellowship? Would it be community service? Would it be your personal Rotary story, area of focus, or something else? You have 10 seconds, an elevator pitch about what you do with Rotary. What would it be? What is the thing that you're going to share first? Personal story, community service, personal story, fellowship, personal story. We have a lot of personal stories here. I'm liking this. Personal story, area of focus. Interesting. A story. Okay. Fellowship, personal story, community service story. It fulfills a part of me that is lacking. That is even more interesting, because that's not even a story. That's just like an emotional expression of what you do with Rotary. Which is very close to my personal favorite. I won't tell exactly what my personal favorite is. I'll let everybody debate it first. But it seems like the biggest one in chat is personal Rotary story. Why is that the case? Keep chat alive. Let everybody know why you chose what you did and prove your point. Let everybody know why you chose what you did. The third barrier, let's keep on pushing on, the status quo. Excuse me. If you only play by the rules set by tradition of your predecessors, the previous district governors, the previous presidents, the previous folks that were in your club, the folks that been there for a long time. If you only play by their rules, it's going to be very difficult to adapt. All of our lives have changed since COVID, and innovation is key to our survival. It is key to our survival. I know it's a word that you see a lot, but it's necessary. The world is drastically different today than it was a year ago. Has your club changed with it, or has it been stuck in the status quo? How do you make membership memorable when innovation feels limited by the status quo? I don't know. It was already difficult, and COVID just made it a lot harder. So before we get to our next question, Mark, what did you see in chat?
Well, we had a lot of feedback, Jason. Let's see. So you're wanting to maybe hear some of the personal stories. Let's see.
Let's see why they choose whatever they chose for the last question, whether it was personal story, fellowship, community service, or otherwise.
Yep. Well, and John Catlin has the same story that I personally do, and that is we were touched by Rotary as young people. John was a youth exchange student. I was an ambassadorial scholar, and we wanted to come back as adults and give back to this great organization. So that speaks for both of us. And Russ has been involved globally in business, and he loves the fellowship that's global all the time through our international organization.
So I'm gonna pause you, Mark. I'm gonna pause the answers that you gave so far. Y'all, I might go a little bit longer today than I anticipated. I like the engagement that we're having so far. I apologize if I do, but Mark, the things that you just mentioned were different from the one comment that we saw a little bit earlier that had that emotion to it. To me, it fulfills a part of me that is lacking. That's what Kathy said, right? The emotionality of the 2 stories you just mentioned, I feel like it wasn't there. Why? What about, you said that you got involved when you were young, right?
Yes. Yep.
What about when you got involved when you were young? And what about that experience like makes you wake up every day like, I want to do this for Rotary? What is that?
Well, the experience I had because of Rotary changed my life. It changed a career direction. It changed me as an individual.
How did it change you, Mark? How did it change you?
It helped me define my place in the world. I mean, and I was just a young person studying in Europe for first time abroad ever, and got to travel all over the place, meet lots of people, learn lots of new things. It was a transformational year.
Yes, that story. Mark, that one. That's the one that we want to hear. You have 10 seconds. That's what's going to hit those heartstrings and make you be like, wow, I really want to be a part of what's going on. So just know that there might be a lot of information with Rotary, but those are the stories that are connect with people and make them want to get engaged. And it cuts through all of the other stuff. All right, let's move on to our next question. We just talked about status quo. I know we're hopping around a little bit, everybody, but that's okay. Everybody's caffeinated or has your glass of wine. Either way, we're having fun. Question is, imagine your club didn't exist, but all of your members now want to start a new club and you are now in charge. What would you change? There's no multiple choice. Give it a thought. What would you change if you could start all over right now? What would you change? This is against the status quo. I'm going to keep moving. Everybody keep chatting. Somehow you have to make membership memorable. Somehow you have to make M&Ms, but there is a lot of COVID going on. We have the lack of connection, as we mentioned. We have information overload. We have status quo. And we have the COVID. To understand how all this feels, let's go ahead and simulate what this might feel like. You know what I mean? Let's simulate what this might feel like. Let's assume that you're out hanging out, you're strolling down the street, maybe going to go get some groceries, and all of a sudden you run into maybe one of your Rotarian friends. It's like, hey, I'm like, hey, how you doing, buddy? Okay, hi. Hey, Rotarian, how you doing, buddy? All right. You're just chilling out there, having a good time. And then all of a sudden, this is the conversation that would happen. It's like, hey, Jim, how's it going? I haven't seen you at a meeting in a while. Jerry, you do not have a mask on. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I should wear a mask, and you're not 6 feet away from me either. You're way too close. Yeah, but listen, Rotary transcends and changes the world. Not if you're this close to me. So here's the thing. Listen, Rotary. Yeah, I know you know all about you hear about the foundation, what they've done. Listen, man, I get the email. Well, why don't you join me for a meeting this week? Hop on Zoom. Listen, it's 8:00 in the morning. I've been in 14 Zoom calls. I don't want to go to another Zoom, but why don't you just listen? I'm going to go ahead and leave. I'll see you later. Bob, just come. Okay, listen. We meet at 12. We meet at 12. Hello? Okay. Well, I guess they're not coming back to our meeting. I guess we're not. My point is that all of these things makes it very difficult, and that's the reason what we're fronted with, and these are the barriers that we see. And all those barriers were present with what we just had. And that's the difficult part with what we're going to have to face. So we're going to have to break this thing down and come up with the ways of addressing these barriers that we face. Mark, what did you see in chat? If you had to start over, what did you find in chat?
Oh, lots of things. So we've had a really great response. Creating clubs that attract younger people by adapting to their situation, time of meeting, social media, so forth. Keeping meetings informal and trying different locations at different times. Changing the club mandate, having meetings and gatherings that are more interactive and less passive.
Mm.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mark. Go give me one more.
Yeah, and making it more inclusive and finding a way to include folks from lower economic strata.
There are so many ideas in there that we can take and make membership memorable. Let's break this down. How are we going to make M&Ms? Let's just ask my grandfather. My grandfather would have been a great Rotarian. My grandfather made M&Ms. Mr. Nelson, my grandfather, he was never a Rotarian, but he never started a Rotary club, but he did inspire membership in the Club of Nelson. Mr. Nelson grew up in a predominantly Southern African-American town in the U.S. His family had little money, education was scarce, racism was abundant, there was a lack of community, and opportunities were limited. Despite these barriers, Mr. Nelson was able to get a college education and found ways to bring the community together. He formed Clubs of Nelson. When he became the principal of multiple schools, he created a Club of Nelson, a team of teachers and leaders. When he became a leader in the local church and national professional fraternities, he created Clubs of Nelson, teams of national and community leaders. when he helped install local sanitation and water systems just like we do in Rotary. He created a Club of Nelson, a team of government officials and policymakers to collaboratively and positively impact the community. And Mr. Nelson worked to foster memorable membership in the Club of Nelson. He made M&Ms. The thing is, the Clubs of Nelson never really existed, but it felt like the Clubs of Nelson existed to those he worked with, the members, the community, and all the people that he made all of those changes with. He's the reason why I became a Rotarian. He passed away 10 years ago, but if you go down to Louisiana and you ask about Mr. Nelson, even the kids that are under the age of 15 know about Mr. Nelson to this day, and they're living his legacy. During that time, there was no COVID. During that time, there was no Zoom. Polio was a pandemic at that time, but the foundations of creating M&Ms are there regardless. So, question to all of you. Outside of Rotary, where did you feel like you were most part of a team? Where was your membership most memorable? Put any of the answers up here that apply to you. Church, sports team, school, family, or partner, other. What are the things that bring you that membership feeling, to make M&Ms for you? We have two Marx's church, Thomas's church, Johnson's family, Kathy says music friend. We have 1 and 4 from Connie, family and church, family, sports team from high school. Randy's like, I'm about to get this hike. Give me that football. Susan says family. All right. And my colleagues at work. That's another spot, number 5. As we finish and we wrap up some of the points of how we address all these, think about the reasons, the differences. What are the differences between the things that you have with those items in your Rotary Club? If you feel so much like you're part of a member with each of these things, what is missing from Rotary? And what can you bring to it? All right, let's break this thing down. I spent a lot of time setting all this up. We need to make M&Ms, but let's go through with some of the solutions. All right. Strong identity. Here's how you address all this stuff. Strong identity with heart. You got to have some clear public image. You have to stay business minded, be innovative, and create partnerships. The reason why, and my grandfather, Mr. Nelson, did all of these things in order to accomplish and navigate those barriers that we established up in the front. So let's start off with a strong identity with heart. Having a strong identity allows you to properly shape all your efforts. What are your club's values? What are your goals? For a mature club, what have you done strategic planning? Why do you do the things that you do? Right now, you probably can't do all the fundraising. You can't be out in the community. So why do you do what you do for the community? Why? And if you can't answer that, then your strong identity is not going to inform anything else that we talk about. Maybe you have to reinvent yourself and figure out what that new identity is. And maybe your club needs to come together to sort that out. But if you don't have that strong identity, everything else is going to fall by the wayside. It's not going to be a complete picture. You're not going to be able to make M&Ms. Are you doing a hybrid club yet? Why or why not? Is it too technical? Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Do you say to yourself, I want to add young professionals to your club? That may or may not be a good idea. What is your identity, and do you do it with heart? Next thing. Clear public image. Once you know who you are, what your identity is, you have to display that and showcase that in an effective way. Having a clear public image doesn't mean that you posted like 2 pictures last week and you're like, okay, I'm done. I've shared myself with the world. I'm great. This is what Rotary is. That's not what the public image means, but that is a checkbox on a list that you've completed. But once you have your strong identity, then you're able to convey what that message is. And you're able to share what that story is, whether that's on a newspaper or whether that's on Facebook. Keep that in mind for public image, and that's how you make M&Ms. That's how people find out about what you're doing. Business-minded. How many people in chat have either they currently own their own business or they have previously owned a business? Go ahead and say me. Say shout out to me in chat. Kathy has me. Kathy, number 2. Cindy, me. Me, exclamation point. Jeff, Mark, Kate, Kate owned a printing business. Brian, Robert, Russ, Paul. There's a lot of folks. Me, Millie. Paul's like, not me. I'm the CEO of 2 major companies. David, that is awesome. So my question to all of you is, do you leverage that skill set within your club? One thing my grandfather did, Mr. Nelson did to make M&Ms, is that he used his business skills in order to elevate the community. How often do we use the skills that we live in our daily life and we bring them in effectively in a Rotary? How many times is there somebody sitting in our club that has an infinite skill set in social media, and your club is terrible at social media, but no one is going to ask Jane to assist? If we can't ask our own members to assist with the things that make our club awesome, and they have the expertise to do so, how are we going to go out into the world and ask other people to join our club? Let's start to look internally to figure out what do we have to make what we have even better. We don't always have to go outside to find someone else. But if you do, still, if you owned your own business, you would reach out to a marketing firm and say, hey, I need some help. Same way, business-minded, sometimes you need to do it. Now, we're all volunteers, but the thing is that sometimes we need to think about this in a business sort of way. Conversely, we got to be innovative. And now's the time to start. One cool article that the Harvard Business Review mentioned recently was that when business as usual isn't working, they suggest to look to nonprofits for inspiration. Now, we're not traditionally like a nonprofit, but we operate in a very similar fashion a lot of the times. So we have the ability to innovate in ways that even those big companies can't do. We can be more creative and inject change in our communities in ways that they cannot see. We have an opportunity right now to be innovative, to do something, especially in the time of COVID, to move everything forward. But we need to do that and stay on top of our innovation. I know that's a buzzword that keeps getting drilled and overused, but it is so critical to everything that we do. Quick question, while we're on this innovation kick, has your club innovated enough since COVID? 1, yes, we still are. 2, yes, but not anymore. 3, no, because we didn't know how or don't know how. And 4, tell us why. Yes, we still are. Yes, we hybrid. Kathy's like, yes, we hybrid. Yes, we still are. Yes, we still are. Yes, we still are. Yes, 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 yes. There's a lot of ones, yes, but we could do better. I like your answer, Mark. Maybe that's an answer that we innovated reading to our first graders by doing it outside. There you go, Valerie. Awesome. It seems like we are hybrid as well. Innovation is abound in your areas, and that is awesome. Keep that up. But keep this in mind, how many people have innovated for the first 3 months of COVID and now have kind of stopped? And you're like, we're good. We're going to hop on Zoom. We're going to do our meetings, and now we're done. All the innovation's fine. I challenge that maybe if you still are, hopefully you have this conversation about innovation on a regular basis. Last but not least, create partnerships. Now, let's talk about my grandfather again when we're talking about partnerships. Okay. Now, imagine Mr. Nelson, right? He's hanging out in your community. He's a cool guy, nice shades on. You know what I mean? He has like a really nice car. He has a bunch of money. Everybody has a Mr. Nelson in their community. Somebody who's, he's an entrepreneur. He does a lot of stuff for charity. He has a lot of cool friends, and he's socially distant and really aware of everything. Like, again, we're talking about creating partnerships. See, Mr. Nelson is just doing really well. He's 100% cool, guys. Everybody, he's cool. He's super cool. Okay? Mr. Nelson is the cool guy in your town. Now, imagine asking Mr. Nelson to join Rotary. It could work. If you had to ask Mr. Nelson in your community, would it be, give me your answer to this question. Ask him to join a club, ask him to start a new club, partner with him on projects. Which one would you choose if you had a Mr. Nelson in your club? Partner says 3. 3 says partner. 3. Randy says partner. Kathy says partner. Davis says partner. Gail, start with partner, Colleen. Ooh, I like it. Start with the partner, Shelly, Rob. Okay, everyone agrees to partner. Brian, there we go. There's the person that's like, you know what? We're going to ask him to join the club first. That's what we're going to do. Partner first and then move to ask him. Thomas, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. That is my proposed approach. I know a few folks in our community, especially in our college town of Penn State, they're movers and shakers, but they do not necessarily want to join Rotary. It is not their thing. I know I'm running a little bit over time. We're coming closer to the end. But real quick, when it comes to partnerships, does anybody know about the 10-3-1 rule when it comes to membership and Rotary? Anybody know about the 10-3-1 rule? Anybody? Usually lead, we are not your usually, but we're not your grandpa's Rotary. The 10-3-1 rule is the following. I learned this in there was a membership seminar not too long ago, and somebody who handles membership for years, they mentioned that this is a statistic that you can kind of bring back. You have to ask 10 people to join Rotary. Out of those 10 people, 3 people might show up to a meeting. Out of those 3 people that show up to a meeting, 1 of those people is going to join Rotary. Means you got to do a lot of work to add 1 person. Yes, Kathy, is it 10 ask, 3 invite, 1 will stay. You can do that and run and 90% of your prospects are going to be like, see ya. Or you could partner with a whole bunch of people, create some meaningful change in your community, especially those folks that know how to navigate COVID better and have innovative ideas, do something really cool in your community. Partner with those folks to create change in your community and then see what happens. And if you're able to create meaningful change, guess what happens? Somebody's going to be like, oh my gosh, Bob, oh my gosh, Mr. Nelson, how were you able to do that? Well, Katie, I actually worked with the Rotary Club. And then Mr. Nelson's the person and Katie's like, oh, what's the Rotary Club? Mr. Nelson's like, whoa, the Rotary Club. They've been a great organization to partner with. They've been around for a while. Then you have Mr. Nelson doing the work for you to help recruit people to come into your club. So just know that situation exists there as well. All right, let's wrap this thing on up. The barriers are significant, y'all. We got lack of connection, information overload, status quo, and a whole bunch of COVID. We have all of that. How we fix that? We have strong identity with heart, clear public image, business-minded, innovate, and we need to be innovative, and we need to create partnerships. We need to make M&M somehow. And that's how we're going to do it, doing those 1 things. If you want even a more simplified method of doing it, here's my 5 takeaways, okay? And I know there's a lot of text on the screen, so I'll just tell you. When it comes to building a stronger identity, don't focus on adding young professionals to your club. Figure out who you are first, and if that's appropriate. And if not, figure out some solution to engage young professionals in your community. Public image. Posting an occasional picture or 2 is in public image. Posting an occasional picture or 2 is in a public image. If you need to find somebody in public image in order to help out your club and your districts, then do it. Number 3, business. Club leadership does not know. If the club leadership doesn't know how to do something, ask for help. If you run your own business and you don't know how to do something, you're going to ask for help, even if it does cost a little bit of money to make that happen. Innovation. Yeah, you started. I don't need to say this. It sounds like y'all innovating, but I'll say it anyway. Yay, you started innovating since COVID. Well, keep it going. You can't keep slowing down. You got to push forward. Last but not least, partner. Community M&Ms make club M&Ms. I'll say it again. Community M&Ms make club M&Ms. Community M&Ms make club M&Ms, and club M&Ms make community M&Ms. But you can. It's harder to create M&Ms if you just do one by itself. You gotta feed both. Everybody, you have to figure out a way to make M&Ms. And if you work really hard, you'll be able to do that. But if you don't appreciate making membership memorable, and as you hold your M&Ms, they're just going to fade completely away. So make membership memorable, make M&Ms, take the learning lessons from Mr. Nelson, and hopefully you might be able to make some M&Ms in your community. So that's making M&Ms, everybody. Let's make M&Ms. Oh, trick to becoming stay memorable, and some of you already figured this out. Find a big problem in your community and solve it. I heard somebody mention it. I like it a lot. So 1 thing to take away. Questions, everybody? What else you got for me? What are your thoughts? Mark, what did you see in chat that I might have missed as we decided to wrap things up?
Oh, well, let me scan here, but I encourage folks to, since we're in the Q&A portion, to start getting those questions in. I'm going to just kind of scan in our chat here to see if there's anything else to share that's already been said.
Mark, did Kim hop in, by the way? Remember we were talking about Kim earlier?
She may be on the call, but I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, sounds
Kathy,
good.
Yep. Let me know if you see her.
Sounds good. I'll leave her message while you're looking this up. Kim, I hear you're from PA. I just need to I just need it. Yes.
Yes, I am.
Oh, Kim is here. Kim, welcome to B94.5, The Morning Getaway, the best morning show here in Pennsylvania. Thank you, Kim, for being amazing, and you're fantastic.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I had to do that. All right, everybody. What questions did you have in chat?
Well, Jason, I had a question for you. Could you share with us, maybe from your own personal experience with your own club or what you've seen out in the Rotary world, an example of folks partnering within the community to do something major and innovative?
Sure. So I've not seen a lot of this, but I can give you an example from my own local community of an individual who is a change maker, and we have worked with him. His name is Spud Marshall. That's the name he goes by. He has a license plate with Spud on it. Like, he's that guy. He's that guy in the community, right? He's the one person that has created community centers. He's created youth organizations. He's created. He speaks around the world. And he's requested from a lot of people in a lot of different ways. I'm on a board of a nonprofit right now in which he helps run the innovation portion of it. Every once in a while, I reach out to him and I say, Spud, we need to figure out a way for Rotary to do something really awesome here in the community. Here's a couple ideas that we're working with. Like, let me know, like, give me something, like, give me some feedback. How can we do this? Then he gets into like his brain space mode. He's like throwing post-it notes up on the wall. And he's like, if you could do this, if you could do that. And then like the energy that he brings to the table and his insight is invaluable. He will never probably ever join Rotary. But it's those the top 40 under 40. If you have one of those in the community, how many people on that list would you love to partner with? How many people who won some awards in high school would you love to just be like, hey, we have, instead of being like, hey, you want to sign up for a grant, reach out to them and be like, hey, you know what? We saw that you won this award and we have a little bit of money. Is there anything you're passionate about, want to change in the community? Like, to me, it's not necessarily about, I don't know of a specific story in which a huge amount of change was created, but I see a lot of potential that's being thrown away when I talk to people, and I hope that I will have stories for you soon so that this message gets out. So, Mark, I don't have any stories for you.
No, that's great. Jason, actually, I loved your comment about, we, as an older organization, we chase young people. We feel like a failure if we don't have a large young demographic in our club. And perhaps the first step isn't necessarily bending over backwards to recruit those folks into the club, but it is to find ways to creatively partner with them, and they will migrate eventually.
Migrate, or the club that is formed, a satellite club might be formed, another Rotary club might be formed. They might have their own identity, and that's okay. That is okay. But we can be the enablers of that, as opposed to being like, the only way to have this happen is for you to join my club. No, that's not the case. Mm-hmm. We can do things in a partnership type of way. So yes, Mark. Any other questions in chat? Any other questions? Or any of the DGs have any thoughts or questions?
Jason, when I talked to you earlier, when we arranged this lovely evening with you, we talked about how you bridge the gap between young Rotarians and seasoned spicy Rotarians. If you have one of those seasoned spicy Rotarians that's giving, butting heads and not letting the younger, let's not call them younger, let's call them middle-aged Rotarians, a chance to change things. How do you deal with that?
That's not an easy place to be in, because that's the status quo portion of it, which the issue, tradition is difficult because there is success usually with tradition. Not always, but let's just assume that there is. So you have success with tradition and people are stuck in their ways, and you have young people with innovative ideas, or just people with age doesn't really matter. You have people with ideas that are bringing these things up to butt heads with tradition. So let's just remove age and just think about like conceptually how this works. my thought is that this is when the sharper people in the room need to figure out a way to navigate this. I assume that the club is not all sticklers and stuck in their old ways, and they're all not new. There's going to be a balance between the two. And if there are two groups that are like butting heads, maybe those two groups need to separate, do their own thing, and partner together to make themselves stronger. Maybe each of them do need their own identity. But going to your question, they're in the same club. I've seen this kind of happen in my own club. We have a lot of experience in a club, and when there's one stickler who is stuck on their ways and shooting down ideas, the other people who have been there for a while, who are very tactful, they will begin to introduce ideas slowly. They'll take certain people out to lunch. They'll do the whole political like shift game to move the conversation forward, not to kick anybody out, but to set the tone and make sure that there are people on board with the idea. And once there are people on board with the idea, they're able to make change. So long story short, I would say that worst case scenario, those two groups need to be separate, and they need to help each other and enable each other to be successful within their communities.
Yep. And
Let's
one
say
of our, go ahead, Jason.
No, go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to share a comment from chat, that sometimes it's a matter of, this came from Tom Schmidt, of doing some one-on-one interaction with those that are reluctant to change and embrace innovation. And
Right.
a lot of times that personal approach can help bring them into the fold.
Right. I would completely agree. You take people out to lunch, you sit them down, you drink a beer if you like that. Be like, hey, so what's your thought about this? And then you just slowly work on people. You get people on your quote unquote side and you move the conversation forward. Just like you do in your organizations, just like you do in a lot of other areas of life.
Yep, and John Buckley has suggested club visioning and strategic planning projects, getting everyone involved with that. And certainly that for all of us that spend a lot of time in corporate America, that's a way of life, and that can definitely be helpful to a club.
I would agree. Thank you for that. That is a wonderful piece of information. If you're able to create an event that allows people to bring it, I just had this conversation. I can't believe I forgot to say this. If you find a simple way to get everybody happy and you do something really good for the community, because I believe all Rotarians really want to help other people, right? So if you're able to help the community in a really impactful way and you're able to get buy-in from a whole bunch of people to have that happen, create those moments first, right? Don't start while people are like angry at each other. Be like, I want it this way. I wanted that. Be like, hey, y'all, we just fed 1,000 people. Let's ride this high for a second and be like, yo, how can we feed 2,000? How can we feed 5,000? How can we feed a whole country overseas by using different styles of grants? Yo, how do we do this? And when you begin, dang it, I can't believe I forgot this. Start with the positivity first and then expand outward from there.
Susan Crane says, we are doing process improvement in Muskegon. What does that mean, Susan?
That sounds very corporate, Susan.
Yeah, well, so we have a very large club, and so we're trying to streamline processes and committees and communication, and just with 230 people, it's really hard to not focus on that process improvement process for our club, to be more efficient and more welcoming and more follow-up and retention, and yeah.
I mean, there's a lot there, and it sounds like you're digging into. Okay, it's no different than like a business that you have, right? You look at your values, you look at your mission, you look at your vision, and occasionally you need to reassess and be like, are we really hitting that? And then you figure out what that But the thing is that it goes back to your strong identity with heart. Right? You're not going to create something that doesn't have that heart, and you're not going to try to do everything out in the community without figuring out that identity first. And it sounds like that's where you're starting. And I hope that also encourages others. It sounds technical and it sounds boring sometimes, but it's also sometimes very necessary for you to be able to figure out what that next step is, especially as we continue into this unknown of COVID. So I completely agree with you that it's a good place to start.
I have a question and kind of what you said about if we can feed 1,000, let's feed 2,000. And it's part of that is about press, like PR. So it's not necessarily like something we're good at. So I think it was considered bragging or something, when actually it's just sharing our story. And then that like does the membership piece and the piece about, you know, attracting new members, but also like doubling our increased opportunities for next year. So I don't know, I appreciate that piece about that. So.
Well, thank you, Kathy. Success has many parents. Failure is an orphan. Start small, be successful, stretch to do more, David says. I appreciate that. Gary says, let the newer members express their ideas, feelings, and new ideas. Yes. That's the one thing, Gary, that I do want to comment about that is, like, if you do allow that, if a club that is not open to new ideas does that, and then they just shoot down everything that somebody just says, and they happen to be in the club for 3 months, are they going to stick around? Absolutely not. If you only allow people to express their feelings and ideas, that's incomplete to me. The other side of it is to be accepting and to listen in a way that, like, the person feels acknowledged and that you're actually appreciating what they are saying. So it has to be together for that another buzzword, synergy, to work. So it just needs to be a little bit of both. Other questions, y'all? Any other questions for me? Any other questions?
Jason, this is Randy.
Yes. Hey, Randy.
You know, before we got on the call this evening, there were several clubs who mentioned that, oh, we have some new members since the pandemic started.
Right. Yes.
Can some people kind of share what happened to make, what did their clubs do to make that happen?
I can share. We've had several new members. We, you know, let them know that we'd like them to engage in the work that we're doing. Part of it was a result of our installation of musical instruments that we've done across Muskegon County. And it engaged other people from Muskegon Heights. And we installed these musical instruments, and then we asked the mayor and the city manager and someone else from the Heights to consider joining Rotary. And so we've installed, I think, probably at least six new members over the course of this awful pandemic. I love the fact that smaller clubs can meet in person. We don't have that option at all. But I think we've inducted like 6 new members through this process.
Well, Susan, that's a wonderful example of addressing a community need, and in the process of doing so, inspiring stakeholders to join you.
Yeah,
that's a tremendous example.
Yeah.
What about another follow-up question to that is, give this some thought while other folks share how they were able to increase. The follow-up question is going to be, how do you keep those people engaged in an online fashion? So keep that question in mind. Anybody else who was able to increase their membership over Zoom, how were you able to do that?
Yes, Rotary Club of Grand Rapids. My name is Jim White. We've brought on 7 members since March, and I think we still have a very active membership committee, but we again started on a project. We have a couple of projects that we've done with Habitat for Humanity, participated in in-house buildings, with wearing masks and that type of thing, and we've done wheelchair ramps to homes, needy people in the community. And basically, when we do that, all of our members will invite friends to come and participate in a project, because that's really what they want to do. And once they're in the project and they feel that it's been successful, they think it was a great thing, well, why don't you come to a Rotary Club meeting? And we do it on Zoom. You know, there's no commitment. You come in, you can participate. And basically, that's how we did it. We start them off to get involved in a project, and then bringing them to the club and giving them the experience of how they can continue to grow and have fun in Rotary.
You share a positive experience, you go out of your way and ask, and it seems like that works. And you probably, hopefully sounds like you also have a very lively Zoom experience, which also contributes to that self-identity with heart and making sure that you're partnering with folks. So that's awesome. And at the end of Zoom, what we do at the end of every meeting,
we stay for 15 minutes and we have like an open chat session for everybody there. Often the speaker will stay also, but that continues to build some camaraderie amongst the members, amongst the potential new members. We just introduced, for example, a new member today. So I think not just ending the meeting at the typical where you have the speaker and you ask questions and then you give the updates with the announcements, the president, and then they end the meeting. Well, we continue for at least 15 minutes until 1:15.
That's fantastic, Jim. I love that idea. I love that idea. That's great.
And it's
Thank
good
you.
for folks to keep in mind that Zoom offers meeting rooms. And so I've been part of other associations where they've broken us up into smaller groups, which encourages more conversation when you're in a separate meeting room with just 5 or 6 Rotarians instead of 30 or 40. So more chance for everyone to interact and network a bit. And Jason, you've given us just a wonderful example of how to make Zoom a totally engaging and interactive experience. I think you use just about every technique that I've ever heard of to keep us very engaged and very involved with everything you said tonight.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's been my pleasure. The one thing that before I know we're, keep the questions coming if you have any, or if we're about to wrap up. The one thing I want to say is that hopefully there will be a survey, folks, right, that you can send out afterwards. The only thing I ask is just to get a little feedback about the presentation so I can continue improving the messages that we share. So I look forward to your feedback on that survey.
That's great. Jason, thank you so much for being with us tonight, taking time out of your evening to be with us. This was so helpful
Absolutely.
and so engaging. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Well, I also thank everyone for attending, and I see many familiar faces. I know many of you have been with us for all 4 or 5 sessions, and very much appreciate everyone's participation. You helped make this a tremendously successful event, and we will take everything we've learned here as we continue on in COVID and try to create engaging experiences for you and the remainder of our members. So thanks, everyone. And Kathy, did you have anything else to close us out?
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who joined us. It was such a great week. My head is this big from all the knowledge that I got. So with that, we're all square. So I'll see you later.
Very good. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to close. I'd like to close with a challenge. We've got 3 great governors, and maybe we need to get together every 3 months or every 4 months and do this again, because this is an expanded family and it's been kind of cool.
I'd love it. It'd be great.
I like that idea, Dave.
Collaboration and synergization.
Dave, that's perfect. We appreciate it. And we are nominating you to be the chair of that.
There it is. The person that gave the idea.
Voluntold.
There it is.
Done that.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Felix. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, everybody, for all the lovely comments. I appreciate you. And if you have anything, reach out to me. It's jasongorotary@gmail.com. Look out for that survey that'll be sent out later. And I'm happy to come talk to you or any of your clubs or your businesses for anything that you might need regarding membership or anything else, technology-wise included. I'd be happy to do so. So thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic night, and hopefully I'll see you again.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Great job.
Yes, very good job, Kathy. Very
Great
good.
week, you guys. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark, too. I appreciate it. Randy, it's good to see you as always.
Yes.
See you, Doc Noel.
See you, Noel.
Bye, everyone.
Jason,
Bye.
absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
No
Bye,
problem,
Kathy.
John.
Bye.
Bye.
Say hi.